June 1965. 6 boys between the age of 13 and 19 lived on the small island of Tongatapu. They attended boarding school. Like most children of that age, they were more interested in fun time than studying. And one day, while talking, they decided to leave everything and go to Fiji. First, they needed something with which they can get to the island. One of the children offered to steal the boat. So they headed to the beach, and with some forethought, they chose a fishing boat. When it got dark, the boys jumped into a boat, which was about 24 feet long, and started swimming. But the boys didn't even think how they would orient themselves in the sea. The distance to Fiji was about 500 miles. They took coconuts and a few bunches of bananas with them. Also, a small gas stove. They hoped to catch some fish and cook. When midnight came, they were about 7 miles away from their home island. The island was no longer visible, so they dropped anchor and prepared for the night. After the boys fell asleep, a storm appeared out of nowhere. A strong wind arose, and the sea began to rage. The anchor was thrown away. The wind tore the sails. The rudder broke, and waves tossed the boat. When the next day came, it rained heavily, so the boys collected rainwater. Unable to steer the boat, they drifted nearly 200 miles to the southwest over the next 8 days, still scooping water from the leaking boat. Then they saw a small island in the distance. They had no means to help them reach the island faster. Fortunately for them, the current carried their boat closer and closer to the island. One of the older boys decided to swim to the island and check if it was safe there. When he reached the island, it seemed to be spinning. He was exhausted. But gathering his strength, he shouted to the boys that everything was fine and safe here. So the boys followed him and reached the shore. They were all exhausted, hungry, and extremely thirsty. They decided to reach the highest point of the island so that they could see everything. They desperately needed fresh water. One of the boys saw a soaked piece of wood on the ground. He squeezed as hard as he could and sucked every drop out of that old piece of wood. They caught birds for meat, drank their blood, and ate their eggs. They caught fish and collected other seafood. They set up in a small shed. One of the boys managed to start a fire using 2 sticks, which the boys didn't let go out for a whole 12 months. After 3 months on the island, the situation had greatly improved. The boys discovered the ruins of an ancient village in the crater of a volcano. They found a small spring of fresh water there. They settled in this settlement. They continued collecting water, catching birds, collecting papaya fruits, bananas. The boys divided the work. Some worked in the garden, in the kitchen, while others worked as guards. In the evenings, in high spirits, they sang and played the guitar, which they made. They even created 5 songs. They promised each other to never give up. They built a raft and tried to get out of this island. However, after swimming only about 1 mile, their raft disintegrated, and they had to go back. The boys began to think that they would never leave this island. However, on September 11, 1966, after spending 15 months on the island, the Australian fishing boat Just David arrived at ʻAta Island after the ship's captain noticed patches of burnt grass on the rocks of the island. When he got closer to the island, he noticed the boys. The captain, who was suspicious of this, decided to take a small boat and swim to those boys. Then they told him their story. The captain returned to the ship and decided to check this story, and he radioed their names. After about 20 minutes of waiting, he heard, "You found them." These boys were already presumed dead. The happy captain took the boys back to their relatives. All these 6 boys showed true courage and intelligence. If we all pursue the same goal and work in the name of one dream, we can achieve anything. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and see you in the next interesting documentary video.